Vendor management policy. This is document control page. These are the related documents. Confidentiality policy. Here we have contents. Objective. So before selecting any vendors, throughout the vendor life cycle, what things we should keep in mind and what things we should follow is listed under this policy. These are the roles and responsibilities. So CISO or security team will review and audit this policy. HR team would be the primary team who would be creating, managing, monitoring, maintaining and auditing this policy. So this applies to all vendors or subcontractors. So let's see the process. So initially we get project needs, why we need a vendor. So this business need should be approved by management. Then we identify potential vendors or subcontractors. We do some kind of vendor assessment and selection. Then we propose and approve the vendor subcontractor. After that, we have vendor onboarding training, annual monitoring and auditing, so incident response and resolution, re-evaluation at least once in a year, and then termination. So if at the end we want to, we will have any exit policy with the vendor, then we have some criteria defined here. So for defining project needs, the project lead will work together with higher management to define why we need a vendor and get details of the business. Okay. Now, once we have this, team might be project lead or some other person in the company will search for vendors. They identify potential vendors. Once they have selected any vendor, then they do vendor due diligence. So we have something called as vendor risk assessment. So before starting any project, we ask from vendors, okay, what is your security track record, their financial stability, reputation of that vendor. So like we ask for if the vendor is ISO 27001 certified or SOC2 certified, attested. So these are the things we ask. We ask various questions from security background, including physical security, access management policies. So we ask them to share their policies or some kind of screenshots as an evidence. So this is vendor due diligence. Vendor selection criteria. So these vendors will be selected based on multiple combinations of factors, including security best practices to follow, the compliances with the relevant regulations, and alignment with security policies and goals, and obviously what are the business requirements. Proposal and approval of the vendor subcontractor. So this prior to distribution of any confidential information, vendor have to sign an NDA. So it is a mutual NDA. The project timeline is decided and we ask a detailed description as how to propose to they provide the services, what kind of services vendor will provide it, what is the timeline, and what could be the, how would we will pay to the vendors. So all these things would be detailed out. So here we have something called as a legal team. So legal team will review vendor contracts. They ensure that they comply all the applicable laws and regulations. So as we are dealing with Malaysian-based entities, so we must have someone from Malaysian team as a legal person in our team who can verify these vendors whether they are compliant with all the applicable laws and regulations. So we should have all the vendor list maintained in a central tracker. So this is the tracker. So we have vendor ID, So example, this is vendor V001. The vendor name is this. And this vendor we have selected for employee background and verification. This is the vendor email ID. The contact person from the vendor is the NDA signed. This is important. So NDA have to NDA must be signed. So verification of the vendor has been done. So if the vendor still active, so that's it's still active. So there might be some other vendors who are not yet active. So previously we have some arrangements with them, and now they are not with us. So the active status would be no for such vendors. And what was the start date? We started with this vendor and the renewal date. So there would be renewal in a year. And what is the vendor rating? So 5 is excellent, 4 good. So like this, we provide ratings to the vendors. And is there any kind of escalation from this vendor? So we maintain all the details in a table for all the vendors. So this helps us to assess the security compliance, whether we are targeting all vendors. And hence we need such kind of central tracker. Vendor onboarding and training. Once we have selected the vendor and vendor have been granted access to our company systems and data, so we our security team will provide training to this vendor. And monitoring and auditing. So it would be periodic audits for this vendor, and any incident, it should be reported. So vendor will be required to promptly report any security incidents or breaches. So example, if there is some breach, so vendor need to inform our company, let's say within 72 hours. So this we can set during the project contract. Resolution and remediation of the incident. Okay. And then is annual re-evaluation. So once a vendor is accepted, we call it as an accepted vendor, and it's re-evaluated based on quality of product, how is the quality and service, punctuality, response time, cooperation, price, reliability, financial stability. There might be other factors as per the company needs. These are just sample factors, and this is the point of scale where the vendor is evaluated. 1 is very poor and 5 is excellent. This also depends on from company to company. So any vendor who fails to meet the above criteria would be a rejected vendor. We also document the rejected vendor details. Once the contract of the vendor has been ended, so we have exit strategy. So exit strategy help us for a smooth transition. And this is a vendor life cycle we follow. Apart from this, other stuff from this policy are generic. So employee training and awareness. So your employee means we are focused on vendor. So all vendors should be provided a demo on this policy. So we need to show the vendors, okay, this is our vendor management policy and you need to comply with this policy. The compliance and monitoring, escalation metrics, policy exceptions. If any vendor needs an exception from this policy, so they can follow the policy exception form. Policy review and updates. So this policy at least should be reviewed once in a year. And that's it onto vendor management policy. So if you have any feedbacks on this policy, kindly comment down. Thank you.